Hello, friends. Is that going through the speakers again? Why does it do this?
Oh no. What have you done?
Well, at least you caught it.
Who's currently unmuted? Who has their stuff
I
unmuted?
unmuted.
Yeah, because I have to reverse them now.
What?
I reset it so the lights are no longer synced with them.
Okay.
Who is currently unmuted?
I'm muted right
You're
now.
muted.
I'm unmuted.
You're unmuted.
I'm unmuted.
And I am muted.
I am also muted.
All right, unmute.
Bam.
Try it again.
I am lit up.
Technical difficulties.
I think you're hooked up to the wrong channel.
All right.
Just hold down the button for 10 seconds. Yeah.
Totally hit 7.
Well, hello, friends. We're here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. This happens occasionally. I don't know why. Yeah, we're here for some more D&D.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a good time. We're going back into that Bad City Big Cold.
Bad City, Big Cold.
Let's see if this works.
So is John the only one not working?
Yeah, now you're good.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know what it was connected to.
Yeah, I don't know. Hello.
It's
Hello.
connected to something really random in the house.
Yeah.
Someone just got a phone call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Pippin's food bowl.
The subtitles off. I'll check on that because we're gonna get up in a minute anyway. So don't worry about it. So yeah, I'll go fix that because we're leaving. But anyway, we're back for the City of Oshuamp. We are NotGreatRPG, and we're here again for another evening of D&D, where we're definitely fine. Everything's good. Totally fine. All good.
No problem.
We'll go around the table real quick, introduce ourselves, and then pop back into the action after a quick recap. So, I am Don, Boosted Gorilla. I play Ethir, Revia, the Grave Domain Cleric in this one.
I am not Lawrence, and I play Yalum Low, and this guy's so fucking green.
So fucking great.
I'm Paul, and I play Felix, aka the Green Man.
I'm Sarah, and I play Ritora.
And I'm DJ, and I'll be playing Nesgrim.
And Billy playing Buck is stuck in traffic.
The horse is in a traffic jam. And I am John, the Dungeon Master for the City of Oshuamp. Last week, when we gathered together for a damaged disciple, Yalum Low and friends left Seamus's home on the northeast side of Slums West, and we were shocked to see Felix just at the end of the street, fortuitously walking down at the very appropriate time. We hurried over, caught up with our missing friend from the last couple of days, asked some questions as to what he had been up to, and we immediately began telling him of all of the horrifying things that we had encountered and discovered very out in the open before we decided to let's not do that in public. We should probably go somewhere and talk about this privately. Felix told us that he was en route to Growler's Tavern to procure some more of Luna's magical ailment for Madeline in Clark's basement. Thank you, I still love the pun. While we were walking, Yalumlo briefly departed, going up one of these side streets to do a thing that you eventually told them, correct? Right? I thought so.
I mean, not the specifics of it.
Yeah, but okay, so Yalumlo went to check in on one of the other loggers and had a conversation with one of the other loggers, as far as everyone knows. We then had Yalumlo eventually catch up to everyone else while they were at Growlers, having talked to Luna and flirted with her in a most peculiar way.
Oh no. Oh no.
Luna gave us her perception and the information that she has gathered on Widow's Wail, its use in various locations by different cultures, the discrepancies that exist within it as it grows in different locations, and how it can be utilized in various quantities for different means. We also recognize that the bloom of the white cottony bud-looking flower itself smells of ambrosia, and Nesgrim made a connection to the scent that was given off by the awakened ones that attacked them in Corin's basement. We eventually made the decision to kind of communally to try to, I think, gain favor still with Luna's character, and go over Corin's notebook that Yalumlo had been gifted when Corin left, and went over the 10 years of fragmented memories from Corin in the time after his transformation, after his untimely death, and his discoveries and ponderings and theories as to what is going on in the city of Oshuamp. Luna herself, now that we have made established fair enough contact, invited them to a more formal dinner that evening, telling them that she would keep the tavern closed for the day, so this way things could be satisfyingly private, and she could introduce our friends to some of her lovely associates that work with her in the city. We'll see. She directed them towards the herbalist at the end of the street, a man named Adrian, who works at the Brood Wing, where we ventured after briefly pausing at Leo's bakery to pick up some magical bread that someone in the party was floating back using some kind of telekinetic powers. Ethir tried his best to performance his way, feigning as though he was carrying the bread through the street instead of having it lofted, floating through the alleys. And when we arrived at the Brood Wing after dropping off the bread, we met the very eccentric and, I guess, Ethir-esque man, Adrian.
Love him.
An elvish man who was a little bit callous at first and instructed everyone to not touch any of the things on his shelf and demanded that they pay for their time in his shop. Yalumlo announced that Ethir sells bones, and Ethir pulled out some of his bones, and Adrian immediately fawned over the femur that Ethir provided, instantly becoming best friends.
As you do.
Fawned over the femurs.
What happened?
It's a sentence I never thought I'd utter, but I did it,
What
and
can I say?
I'm proud that I did it.
Got a good bone?
That's true.
It's a very
Get
good
that
bone.
bone out. The party starts. It is what it is.
Check
It's
out
true.
my finest bone.
It's too good.
Ethir, bone provider.
Your local bone provider.
Oh man, Ethir and Yalumlo, all your bone and wood services.
It's a tag team.
One brings the bone, the other heavies the wood. Very good. We worked on our friendly communications with Adrian as Ethir began to offer some of his bone jewelry, Zeben saying that he would make a special one just for Adrian himself. And Adrian invited Ethir downstairs for a private session.
Not a sex thing.
It is.
Well,
I'm
sure yet.
convinced.
As far as
Probably
we're
not a
aware,
sex thing.
Definitely a
It
sex.
could
It's
be.
very much.
Akin to hide the emperor.
Yeah, it's come downstairs and hide bones with me. Let's take turn hiding our bones.
Let's hide the emperor together.
Yeah, so Ethir recognized, as did Adrian, that the other is what Adrian calls a watcher, an individual who can see things beyond the curtains of death, and asked who taught Ethir his ways. And we were a little, I guess, hesitant to follow Adrian into the creepy lower level of his horrifying shop. So Yalumlo asked if one of our companions could accompany him, at first offering himself, and then totally just said Nesgrim's died. And Adrian was, spiciest of meatball, I'm going to take this boy right with me.
Saw that bus coming from a mile away.
Yep.
At this point. Yep.
Weird. You were always in front of it. You never were.
Oh man, I never pushed you there. You were just standing there.
Don't lay down in front of buses if you don't want to
He
get hit.
also pulled out a large, tall, standing, oval-shaped jar with an engorged, distended eye that had been dissected and was suspended in liquid, and placed it on the table, saying, "Don't touch any of my things," and then led Nesgrim and Ethir through a tall black door down a set of stairs. And if the other three of you would please leave so I may conclude the recap.
Also, real quick, just for clarity, did he leave the eye upstairs?
Yeah, it's on the counter, watching over them.
Okay, yeah, you're dead. Goodbye.
Great. Okay.
No, Don, you're staying.
Yeah, you stay too.
You stay
Oh.
for right now.
You're
I'm
there.
finishing the recap
Got it.
because you were here for
Oh, okay.
portions of it.
And then I'll get out.
And then you get the fuck out.
Okay, we're good.
So yes, the two of you followed Adrian down the small staircase to a landing where you watched as he took off his larger cloak revealing the tribal tattoos and ritualistic depictions that were on his shoulders and, extending down towards his elbows, adorning him for his services, and invited our friends into his bone room, where inside he stepped over towards a small writing desk, procuring a brazier, similarly constructed out of a stone, very much like Ethir's, and sat in the center of the room in a large circle outlined with a substance that looks akin to chalk, where there are geometric patterns and shapings weaving through and forming pinnacles and points. Yes, honestly, very similar to that. Like, I didn't want to say almost like an Ouroboros, but very akin to an Ouroboros. And Adrian requested that Ethir bring him one of the candles from his desk. Ethir abided. He asked Nesgrim for a drop of his blood as he put some of his own herbs, flora, and other sprigs of plants into this brazier. Nesgrim abided, pricking his finger and dropping a few little splurts of blood into the brazier covering these herbs, which Adrian then immediately ignited and requested that Nesgrim step into the circle with him. And Nesgrim acquiesced,
like
stepping inside, watching as, very similar again to Ethir, smoke began to waft around the face of Adrian, and you saw the two of them standing. And Adrian begins to inhale, and you see your good friend Nesgrim standing right at the entrance to the circle, both feet inside, staring down at Adrian, and then the two of them appear quite still, as if transfixed. Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you, chat.
Nesgrim inside of this circle, as you stood and watched as the smoke began to waft and encase the face of Adrian, as the smoke briefly began to part as though pulling a veil aside, pressing its way through, you saw the familiar face of your father. And this is where DJ and I are beginning this episode. So you are standing here, effectively transfixed in a trance almost like state. The world around you, for this familiar shape of where you were in this small room, suddenly feels as though it dissipates almost like heat on a horizon, and a different view comes to your eyes, and you see yourself standing in the familiar woods of the Ogre Pool, the woods of your home. You see your father's face kind of waft away the smoke, and you see the remainder of his form appear. And you can see that he is actually on his knees, looking out away from you, as though to the side, so you are catching a peripheral profile view of your father.
Right.
And you can see that in his two hands, tightly squeezed, are a bouquet of white lilies. And he is holding them. You can see his arms and shoulders kind of sag and his hands shaking, as though weak, feeble, but emotional.
Okay.
You watch as he extends his hands, laying carefully this bouquet of white lilies on a mound of dirt that you can see is adorned with a head like a tombstone, similar to where your mother wasn't buried, but where you and your father dug a memorial, as though where you had spent most of your time with her outside of your home in Ryak. You watch as he lays these lilies down, and he leaves one hand lingering on the dirt as he brings the other back to his side and places his hand on his hips. As his one palm is flat on this mound of earth, you hear a very faint whisper echo out from the area of your father's body, saying, "He is all right still, Felice. They've not found him yet." Beneath your father's palm, the earth begins to stir, as though lightly shaking from a concentric point underneath your father's palm. The flowers begin to fall apart and litter in a sideways pattern, almost adorning it like a cascade down from where your father's hand is.
All right.
As he holds the dirt steadily between his fingers, almost grasping it, you watch as his hand is encased in a long, scaled black claw with extending talons that dig into the base of his forearm.
So, okay.
So it comes out,
Around
encases his fist, because this claw is larger than your father's hand.
Right.
And you watch as the 4 finger-like talons sink in.
So palm here, fingers.
Correct.
Here. Gotcha.
And the thumb curls around, gripping into the middle of your father's wrist. You can see that the talons begin to slightly penetrate through the skin of your father's arm. And you hear once more the voice of your father echo out, "No, my love. Our son shall not be thrall to the defiled. He is pure. We shall answer eternal in his stead. Wail no longer, darling. This corrupted clay is faintly a prison." And the talons of the claw sink deeper into the flesh of your father's arm. And you watch as blood begins to slowly trickle out, covering first the claw and spraying sideways slightly as though the claw squeezes too tightly, and the lilies themselves are bathed in blood from your father's hand. And the dirt begins to be bathed in the richness of your father's
Blood.
existence. Yes.
Okay.
Your father stands, his hand extended down still into the dirt. The claw slowly relinquishes its grasp on him, and you watch as your father pulls his hand up, blood seeping from his fingertips, continuing to stain the lilies and this mound of earth. And your father stands and turns in your direction, his hand now at his side. And you can see behind your father, first growing from the base of the mound, this massive, shadowy figure that encases around him, but in a grander silhouette, as though a form standing behind your father. And you can see, similar to a previous vision, these tendrils extend from behind him, looming over his cheeks and his face. The forests of the ogre pool begin to fade from behind, and all you see is your father in this shadow encasing. As the tendrils begin to turn and pull at the flesh of your father. And you hear, in a mix of your father's and Adrian's voices, "Hark, Nesgrim, lest you court the seraph's cry."
Hark lest you court the seraph's cry. Okay.
Don, you may return.
All right.
And you find yourself standing in this circle, looking down at Adrian as the last of the smoke dissipates from around him, and the flames of the brazier crackle and spit their final life and extinguish.
Quick question about the claw. Ethir would have told me about his visions, right? Probably. I would connect those two as being the same, right?
Quite similar.
Great. Awesome.
You see suddenly your friend Nesgrim begin to, like, shake. Not in a seizure-esque way, but, like, his hands at his sides begin to nervously twitch, and he is standing here, trembling, staring down at Adrian, who just kind of, like, breathes a single deep breath. Oh, my.
What was that?
Nesgrim, are you okay?
No.
What was that indeed? Quite a story. And you watch as, like, he sinks his fingers into the herbs, and you can see that the parts of, like, ashes and, like, stained soil, he pulls them up and begins just scraping them along, like, his face and, like, licking the tips of his fingers.
Oh
My God. You are quite the man.
I've been told that. Can I ask you some questions about what I just saw?
Oh. Yes, ask away.
The last thing I heard, hark, lest you court the seraph's cry.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
I do not know.
Okay, all right.
It is... Oh. It is not... I suppose you could say my voice that you've heard, yes?
Oh God, whose voice did I hear?
That man, I can only assume was your father.
Yes.
Most interesting, Mr. Ethir.
Yes.
You
What
have
you
quite
done?
the friend here.
What did you do to him? Why are you mentioning his father?
Oh, I didn't do, anything. I simply saw,
What
as
is
you
it-
do.
What is it that you saw, and how were you able to see without... while he is alive?
What do you mean?
I am only able to see after they have died.
Can you?
Yes.
Marvelous. Should we?
No.
Oh, forgive me, of course, it was a jest. Oh, but the story his bones could tell, Mr. Ethir.
Perhaps one day I will see it if he gets into trouble himself, but until
It sounds
that
as
day,
though he's already been in trouble.
you could certainly say that.
I have died, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes, you have.
Why was I shown that rather than my death? Did you choose what I saw, or is it...
I do not see as Mr. Ethir does. It seems he sees the soul as it stands in a liminal space between life and death.
And what do you see?
I see something different. I see... You know how a tree has branches?
Yes.
So does a family.
Oh, okay. So you're able to see my family tree.
Indeed.
Is there anything I should know?
Judging from what we just saw, I would assume so. But I only see what causes the death of a family member.
Okay.
I assume your father passed shortly after.
He did. Do you think what I was shown was the transaction? The deal being made?
Possibly.
A deal?
Well.
We got it. Campaign's done. That's all this was.
As my father reached into a mound of dirt that he had laid white lilies on, I watched as a claw met his hand, palm to fist, and the fingers and thumb dig into the forearm. Huge claw, very big. Following that, he stood up and faced me, and there was a large black shadow behind him, which then encased his face in shadowy tendril. And then I was here.
That sounds great.
So I'm not sure
How
what
long ago was this?
this year. Or that might have
Weeks?
been last year.
Months?
I don't think I have months. I only have...
Yeah, you didn't have I would tell you from the timeline, it was about 6 months ago for when your father was at his worst weakened condition.
Okay.
So like father and son, both of you pulled towards the grave then, perhaps?
It's what it seems. Yes. I wonder if that's why everything has been trying to kill me.
Perhaps. You are lucky then.
That everything's trying to kill me?
Well, if your father made some sort of deal, perhaps he cursed you to suffer the same fate as him, in which
Am I
case you
cursed?
will meet an early grave and I will ferry you across.
I appreciate that.
Ferry him.
Yes.
Marvelous. What a job you've been gifted, Mr. Ethir.
It is something that I take very seriously. I find those that require aid and help them across, or I banish them if they do not deserve to pass
Banish
on.
them.
Yes,
To where?
to the one side of the river, so that they may
Oh
know
my.
they may not cross.
How lovely. And do these people share their stories with you?
Some choose to, some choose not to. They vary depending on the person. I find those that deserve to cross are often more willing to share than those that are not. The ones that are not deserving of crossing are generally more tight-lipped.
Resistant?
Yes, tight-lipped about
Oh,
their crimes in life.
very well. You watch as he begins to, slowly stand up, elevating his brazier with him, and he begins to walk over towards the writing desk in the side of the room.
Mm-hmm.
I would very much like to do this again sometime, Mr. Nesgrim.
I think that may be possible.
Lovely. And Mr. Ethir,
Yes.
perhaps someday you could pay me a visit too.
Was I brought down here for another reason? I have not yet done anything other than watch you terrorize Nesgrim with visions of some kind.
Terrorize?
He doesn't look very good.
No fault of mine, Mr. Ethir. We are watchers. I did nothing to him.
But why am I down here then?
So you could witness. So you could understand.
So that I could witness him being horrified?
That was quite scary.
Scary?
Yes.
Was it?
I mean, yes.
Oh,
That was quite a vision.
it
not,
was.
Not everyone is as comfortable with death as you and I. Not everyone finds it a lucky thing to have happen to them or someone that they love.
All right, then. Well, then let us continue our business upstairs.
Okay.
Hurry along.
All right. If there is nothing else.
No. He moves towards the door and opens it, and he just gestures upwards. It seems our tastes are a bit more distant than I first anticipated.
I'm not opposed to this, but it was a bit of a shock. It probably will get easier with time.
Perhaps. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. And he just stands there in this, again, like back against the door, gesturing upwards.
I guess I'll walk up the stairs. Rip me.
I'll walk over to Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get an enjoyment out of this?
There is a certain pleasure, yes, in the visions I am gifted. To understand what has happened to your friend is a rare blessing to possess.
It is, so long as it is helpful to the person in which sees the vision.
And you can watch that he's just kind of still like running his fingers along the stained areas where he has rubbed the lingering fragments, and you can see like sprigs of like stems from the leaves. It is helpful to me to know. Absolutely.
But is it helpful for them to know?
I would think so.
That connected some things. For example, the black claw you previously mentioned, I think may be similar to the black claw that grabbed my father's hand.
Perhaps.
And also, the vision of him, the tendrils grabbing his face, I've seen once before as well.
All right.
No reaction from Adrian on, I've seen that before?
No.
Okay. So it did give me some insight as to what may be happening, in that my past and Oshuamp's seem to be connected.
All right.
The Black Claw,
Yes,
you call it.
that's what I saw, yes.
Lovely.
Is that notable?
In a way, of course.
Why is that?
All things are notable, Mr. Nesgrim. And he gestures once more towards the door upstairs.
I am going to pull out a silver
Uh-huh.
and say, do you have any other information you may want to share?
Earthly trinkets. Oh, how naive. I would like something much different than coin.
What is that?
Oh, Mr. Nesgrim. Your bones.
Yes.
And he just extends his palm towards you. There is an interest I possess in the acquisition of bones.
All right.
They have their purposes.
And do you want mine?
No, not yours. Your blood suffices, Mr. Nesgrim.
Good.
And what would we receive in exchange for these bones?
Well, Mr. Nesgrim is asking of this black claw. I could possibly part with a bit more. Knowledge that you seek.
You have the knowledge?
Of course. He just
Then-
looks over at like up the stairs towards Nesgrim.
I'll hand this over to Ethir. Will this pay for the bone?
Keep your silver. If you have the knowledge, why would you not share it with him willingly?
Why should I?
Death is not something that is meant to be used for profit.
Death is a transaction, Mr. Ethir. I'm simply making another.
If we are all friends here and share an interest, you would give him the knowledge and I will give you bones. But make no mistake, this is not a transaction. I am not running a business of
trading bones for knowledge. I think much too highly of the people that the bones belonged to at one point.
Very well. Let us retire to the upstairs then, friends.
Of course.
Okay.
And he waits for you to step into the hallway.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And then he follows you back up the stairs. Everyone else may return.
Come back! Baby, come back!
That's probably about as far as I can go.
Yep.
Baby, return.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a buck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeehaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeehaw. Yeehaw.
Mm-hmm.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Very good. So, we'll say that Buck stumbled his way in.
All right.
Kind of saw you guys in the street and joined you guys in the interior of the brood wing. So the four of you watch as the tall black door at the back of the room opens once more. Only about a minute or so, like 2 minutes has passed. Like, not a long time actually has passed in terms of what happened, what transpired.
It's like 20 minutes later.
I know, right?
The only thing I would have done in that 1 minute is crouch down in front of the eye and just...
Stared at it? Yeah. So as you stared at it, it would have, like, the iris and the other, like, the pupil would have the pupil would have dilated and centered in on you.
Sure.
Oh, God.
And looked at you more closely.
Good to know.
Uh-huh.
Just shiver uncomfortably
Yeah.
at that.
So you hear footsteps from the back of the room, and the black door opens once more, and you see Nesgrim standing in the doorframe.
I know I'm already pale. Super pale. I just gave a lot of, not literally, but I look like I just gave a lot of blood. Like, I'm shaky and... Yeah, it's not a good time.
You hear a
Guess
bit
I'll-
of like a giggle echoing out from the hallway as Adrian laughs behind you as you walk in front of him back up the stairs. And you all join your friends once more,
I'm still just...
staring at the eye. And Adrian is affixing his robe once more. Oh, well, business as usual, you could say. Mr. Nesgrim?
Oh, you're back?
I see you've
I'm here.
taken an interest.
How does it work?
Work?
Yes, I saw that it focused.
How does any living thing work?
It's alive.
Quite.
Interesting. You're so fucking great.
Well? What trinkets might I offer you?
I don't even remember why we're here.
Oh, good. Me neither.
Oh, we were sent
Where did you
by
come from?
Luna.
Ethir, I do not suppose you had a chance to ask about the herbs?
I did not. We were quite preoccupied in the basement.
Yeah, they were. He looks like he gave a lot of blood.
Both of them, or just Nez?
Just
me.
Nesgrim.
How's,
Perhaps now.
how's
would
Is he
be-
dying again?
I'm fine. I'm not dying yet.
I'll
But
just go up to Nesgrim and just pat him on the arm.
Perhaps now would be a good time to ask before we depart.
yeah.
Fair enough. Adrian?
Yes, my friend. You can see along, like, the portions of beneath his, like, around his chin, extending up almost to the center of his bottom lip, what looks like smeared dirt and ash, and, like, sprinklings of, like, a leaf and like a twig, like a small fragment.
That was not there before.
Was not remotely there before. So staining like the middle portions of his lower lip and his chin.
Another drug addict. Yep.
Yes, my friends.
We had a question about a certain herb. A plant that grows in the desecrated earth in this vicinity.
Ah, yes.
We were under the impression that perhaps you knew something about this plant.
Oh, quite a lovely, special flower.
Anything you could tell us about it would be greatly appreciated.
Oh. Many uses. Many. Some a bit more precarious than others. Right, Mr. Ethir?
Of course.
Indeed.
To tell?
I hate this guy.
This guy's terrifying.
I don't really like this guy.
Well, and you watch as he just kind of like runs his finger along the dirt on his chin and then licks it off. Oh. You watch like his he just kind of like shudders again in ecstasy. Delectable.
Get a room.
I have a room. Hey, Mr. Nesgrim. Quite a room, is it not?
It's something.
I'm really torn between standing behind Nesgrim and standing in front of Nesgrim.
No danger here, darling.
I'm gonna pull up. No, I'm not. No. I put my hand into my bag and then.
Yeah, second guess it. Some of its uses are a bit more callously prescribed, you could say.
Such as?
Well, are any of us familiar with poisons?
Am I familiar with poisons?
Slightly, you would know about poisonous plants.
Would I know about poisonous plants?
You would as well know about some poisonous plants, yes.
Okay.
I'd probably also have a
A
touch
little
of it,
bit,
yeah.
but like as far as you
Just
know,
from travel, but yeah.
Does Nesgrim drinking mud count as poison?
a little bit.
Then we
So
all
a
know
little
something
bit.
about
A little
poison.
bit.
First-hand experience.
Mhm.
It's the best kind.
Are poisons what made you green?
Oh, is that so?
Oh,
you
the
feel-
green
You're feeling
man.
well enough
Oh,
for
I
that.
thought it was a curse.
That cut through.
Just go back to.
He's
being-
so fucking green. Have you seen him?
Yeah.
He's really fucking green. It's incredible. Anyways, you were saying?
Ha. Mr. Green Man.
If I'm going under the bus, everyone's going under the bus.
Yes.
And
Yes.
oh, the strange elf.
That's the one you call the strange elf?
Yes.
You back away from
Man, she saves your life and you leave her.
Thank God I'm out of dodge.
Man! Whew, you're trying to get killed by the party. God
I guess
damn.
I guess I am the strange elf.
You are. And back at home, did Mother Nature defend itself?
It's tried. It's failed.
Has it? Oh. What do you deem failure, my dear? Perhaps it is adaptation.
I feel it may not be the failure in your eyes, but for life to thrive, it has. It is a failure.
Is it?
Yes.
And have you seen the earth dying?
I have.
Interesting.
I have tried to fix it.
You've tried to fix it. And he begins to step towards you. Tell me how you've fixed death.
Tried. I've tried. Like I said.
And he takes another step towards you. Tried. And were unsuccessful, I assume?
Yes.
And you watch as he just kind of like leans in your direction and just smells deeply, inhaling through his nose. Oh. You are no failure, my dear. Mr. Nesgrim. I feel you may hear that cry quite soon.
What? What?
Nothing, my friend.
From where, whom, why?
You shall understand in time. The leaves of your branches begin to fall into place.
You're gonna die.
What? Can I help you?
Perhaps something we should discuss later, Nesgrim?
You look perplexed, my dear. I think the threshold between life and death is something that you faintly understand. Even Mr. Ethir seems to have a bit of confusion miring him.
I do not claim to know everything about what lies between life and death, nor what lies beyond. I simply do what I must.
What you must.
Yes.
How poignant. I like that about you.
Thank you.
You seem quite convinced. Oh,
Convinced is a word.
it is. And poisons, my sir. Sometimes Mother Nature transforms to protect itself from a deeper threat.
And you believe that is the purpose of this plant?
I believe it may be its purpose.
And what might this threat be?
Oh, Mr. Nesgrim.
Oh God, why me? Yes.
You have seen what rises from the dirt, have you not?
I have.
And I have seen the other side of it.
The other side of the dirt.
Is it not more dirt?
Oh no,
I'd assume.
the other side of you, Mr. Nesgrim.
Like the
What
inside?
do you mean?
What lurks behind him?
What lurks behind me?
Oh,
We will talk about it outside, perhaps in my
Bone tent?
home.
Mr. Nesgrim,
Yes.
beware the white bow.
Oh, son of a bitch.
And you see him like grin ear to ear. A father's warning should be heeded.
Now, when you say white bone, are you in fact referring to this same plant?
No. And he just obviously stares at Nesgrim. Not a plant. My friend.
Yes. Yes.
I've quite enjoyed the taste of your story and your family.
What do you mean by white bone?
You will see, Mr. Nesgrim. Something inside you is...
Oh no.
And you see, like, his hands dig into the sides of his arms. Oh. Do you feel it lurching in you, Mr. Nesgrim?
I'm gonna step between him and
To the
Nesgrim.
DM, do I?
So, in terms of what he's talking about, you don't feel physically different.
Right.
Emotionally, that is your determination as to where you believe Nesgrim stands right now. I will tell you as the DM, definitively, physically, you do not feel
fine.
different.
Uh-huh.
And for you all, careful how close you get to some whose blood is not quite what you think. Oh.
What is wrong with my blood?
And you watch as he just kind of like reels back and like looks, and you see his hair just kind of like fall around his shoulders. Oh, I hear the cry. Don't you, Mr. Nesgrim?
The cry of the seraph?
Oh, it wriggles inside your veins, Mr. Nesgrim. Quite deliciously.
Okay.
Perhaps someday you all would like a turn to see what is inside of each of you.
You are able to see
Yes.
anyone, not just those that have died.
I am able to taste of their life and see what it shows me, what it cries out with. A calling.
Perhaps if another of us was to allow you such,
Oh,
you would be more forthright with information on this plant.
my green friend.
And I'll show my fangs.
Oh, the choices.
We will have to come back, I'm afraid. We have some things we must pick up, but
Too busy for understanding.
we could return.
Would it take any longer than it took with Nesgrim?
Oh,
You were not gone very long.
perhaps only a moment.
We are already here.
While I
We are,
possess
but-
the strength.
We are very much pressed for time.
I cannot speak for anyone else, but I would be willing.
Oh. And he just extends his hand. I do love when they're willing. Please, my friend. I would very much like to see.
All right.
And he begins to turn back towards the black door and walk towards it.
Good luck.
I'm going to follow him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking.
No, Mr. Ethir. I think you've seen enough horrifying things for the day.
Do you mind if I come?
Oh, Mr. Nesgrim. I would cherish your presence anywhere.
I don't want him to go down there alone, man.
I have not yet.
Glutton for punishment.
I have not yet seen enough today.
The invitation is only extended to these two, Mr. Ethir. Our tastes do not align yet.
I need to roll history.
What the
Fuck magic is he doing?
Uh-huh.
Oh god.
I'm gonna pull another bone out of my bag and kind of offer it towards him.
I've got something far more delicious in store than a simple bone, Mr. Ethir.
Was it
you roll
11?
for your history?
Yeah.
So in terms of the magic that you can tell he is
Because I'm
utilizing,
assuming I saw some of the reagents.
you would associate it most closely with some sense of divination in terms of what school of magic you would attribute it towards.
Okay.
What it might be in particular, this is very unorthodox. I will tell you definitively, it is unorthodox, this is eccentric, this feels unnatural and otherworldly to you. Like the reagents would probably make sense in terms of their utilization as a catalyst,
Right.
but all you know is you saw him do something, and that didn't fully make sense, and you know this guy does something similar.
Okay.
I'm going to use Divine Sense.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can pick up on any, what is it? Hallowed spell, Celestial Fiend, or Undead. In 60 feet? Yeah.
Emanating from the eye on the countertop. What were the three again? Sorry?
Celestial Fiend, Undead, and Hollow. Hollow
Fiend.
spell.
Fiend.
Fiend.
You said that your taste did not align with Ethir.
Yes.
Perhaps he could learn? He does seem interested.
Very much so.
I thought more of a fellow watcher.
If he were a willing participant
A participant?
this time around,
Oh, that changes things.
Ethir,
Would you participate?
If you let them stay, I will participate.
How lovely. Of course, participate. Come now. I have quite a thought for what I might see. And for the others in here, do not look at the eye as your friend did. It might not treat you as well as it did him. It has a mind of its own.
I'll smile at that.
Does it prefer Yalumlo?
I didn't want to
Why?
look at it, but
Oh, it might.
But why?
The eye makes its choices.
What did you do?
looked at the eye.
Yep, and he walks back towards the door and opens it and gestures for the three of you to come with him.
I'm following.
Here we go.
I'm going to be physically sick.
Back in the creepy basement.
Yep. So the three of you follow.
Yep.
Yep.
Farewell, other three.
Oh,
See you
come
guys
on.
again.
Sorry,
Play
guys.
D&D.
Right?
I will be last in line.
Are you gonna follow down as well?
Yeah, and I'm gonna look at the eye as I walk past.
Okay. My
Not closely.
Sure.
But
my green friend. Are you interested in understanding
understanding what?
nature?
Sure.
Oh my. Come along, my friends.
Here we
I've
go.
never had so many in my room before. And he begins to descend the stairs.
Here we go. Yeah. Here we go back downstairs.
Mm-hmm. You guys watch once more as he stops at the base of the steps on the landing in front of another tall black door. And there is a coat rack on the side, very similar to the one that we have in the corner of the room, where it looks like just notches on a branch or like a large piece of wood. And he removes his cloak once more, and he hangs it up.
I'm gonna do the same.
Mr. Nesgrim.
God damn it! I knew that wouldn't be innocuous. I knew it.
And you watch as he begins to untie his, like, the strings along the top of his shirt.
Uh-huh.
This one might be a bit more involved. And he begins to remove his shirt.
I will stop at my.
Hell yeah, buddy, we're partying in here. So you guys, as he removes his shirt, you can see that there are geometric shapes and what look like knot tattoos around his shoulders, because it's like a vest. So you can see that there are knot tattoos, and then on the left arm is an ankh that extends and is surrounded, almost encased in these other tribal tattoos of geometric shapes and Celtic-style knots. On the other arm, you can see a spiraled bone dagger that looks like it is twisted and curved. Again, encased in... You have your dice tray, DJ? So, again, think of the signature signs and shapes around like an Ouroboros, around that as well. As he removes his shirt, you can see that on his back, Nesgrim, is a large, sprawling, scaled black claw. And in the center of it, you can see that it looks almost twisted.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see a stone brazier with flames and what looks like a skull tattooed on his back.
What is that tattoo, Adrian?
My markings?
Yes, the one on your back.
And he grabs the handle of the door. Oh, they're gifts, Mr. Nesgrim. And he pulls the door open. So you guys have not been here. It is a small, square-shaped room. It is wood-laid, so I had previously described that when you entered his store, you ascended staircases up. This is effectively the foundation of the building. So
Sure.
When you came down, you are going...
It is the first floor. It's not underground.
Correct. You are not underground, because that was something that they wanted to make sure of. This is a fully wood-laid room, so floors, walls, ceilings. In the right corner of the room is a small wooden writing desk. It looks like it's constructed of a dark oak wood. On the top of it, you can see that there are like 4 or 5 vials filled with herbs and other flora and sprigs of plants akin to what Ethir uses in his rituals. And in the center of those vials on that top shelf is a stone brazier, very similar again to Ethir's. And then in the lower portion of the writing desk below that shelf, you can see that there is a skull and 2 candlesticks with candles inside of the candlestick. In the center of the room, in white chalk, is a circle with geometric patterns traced into the wood. Yeah. He walks over towards
Can I discern what any of those are, or no?
So
They
you
totally
can tell
foreign?
that the symbols are attributed to the various schools of magic. So you can see 4 symbols that are equated with the schools of abjuration, evocation, divination, and conjuration. So you would know effectively barriers, creation, like evocation is typically what, like firebolt and things like that, like the creation of an effect that has a physical manifestation in the world. Conjuration is like summoning.
Right.
And then divination is foresight and other things like that. So that would be your historical association for the schools of magic. He, again, grabs vials and his stone brazier and walks into the center of the large circle, sits down, places the brazier, and begins to place various herbs and sprigs. Mr. Ethir.
I will go first.
Oh no, Mr. Ethir, the candle.
Of course.
I'll get the candle and bring it to him.
And he pulls out the bone dagger from his hip. Mr. Yalumlo,
Yes?
could you join me in the circle, my
course.
friend? And he extends the bone dagger. Just a drop of blood.
Of course. I will take it and I'll roll my sleeve up. And
Yep, just like slice along the side and just squeeze.
I did my finger, but okay.
So you get like the couple of droplets that stain the herbs and incense in this bowl, and you hand him the candle.
Yep.
The three of you watch as Yalumlo is standing inside of this circle, and the three of you are around it. He takes the candle from you, and once more he holds his two fingers over the wick and flicks them and ignites the candle. And then he lowers it into the brazier. You can see that the herbs and other things began to spark and sizzle. And Don, Paul, and DJ, goodbye.
Good luck, bud. Bring it with you.
As he illuminates these herbs and other flora, you can see that smoke begins to waft around his face, and he inhales deeply. You are standing once still inside of this circle with him, and as he inhales, his face is encased with smoke, and he looks up at you. You can see the world around you begins to dissipate. I described it the very same way to DJ as the faded vision of a horizon in heat in a desert, where things look as though they blur and become fuzzy in your vision. And then suddenly the world around you looks once more like your home in the Ravawode, inside of the central circles where you lived. You see the tall, standing, illuminated trees with their bark, pieces of sunlight breaking through the foliage, and you see yourself standing amidst these rays of sunlight. And the woods around you are silent, quiet and still. And then you feel, centered around your feet, a swirling vortex of wind and a horrific chill, as though it begins at your feet, twisting around your ankles in your boots. So you're still in your clothes, but you can feel...
dressed like this.
Correct. Which is understandably not how you would have been dressed back at home. You feel this vortex grip around your feet as though pulling you, akin to being what I would dictate as that mud sensation where you step too deeply and that suction prevents you from elevating your leg, and you strain against it. And as you look down, you can see that this vortex is surrounded in an encasing snow, almost like if you were to shake a snow globe in an encased area around your feet. And the vortex winds extend up the length of your legs, and they feel gripping, almost like fingers curling around your body, extending up to your waist. And as you stare down amidst this vortex, amidst these winds, you see suddenly it looks as though the winds themselves are actually strands of hair, long, pearly, beautiful white, like snow. And you see silhouetted eyes amidst this hair, void of a face, so almost as though in the vortex itself, these eyes open from nowhere, and the vortex halts at your waist, crawling up your side so it doesn't come like your chest or your back. You feel it along your rib cage, up under your arms, and it pulls your hands together in front of you. And the vortex clasps your hands together, and you watch as snow begins to fall from your hands as they are held together, very much like this shape, like you are praying, but outright. And the snow falls and lingers in an area about 3 feet below your palms, shining, encasing itself almost like ice, as though a crystalline shape with a jagged, pointed tip forms down from your hands. and you feel your hands and feet go numb and cold. And you stare into the blade sides of this long, crusted icicle that extends down from your hands. And your gaze is drawn once more to your waist, where you see the eyes. As you stare into them, you see one of them slowly begins to grow and twist, engorging and pulsating. And you hear a shrill, cackling laugh. And things begin to fade around you. Don, Paul, and DJ, you guys may begin to return. The vortex shrinks away from your waist, back down to your feet, but the residual chill still lingers in your hands and feet, and the icicle looks as though it cracks and splinters. And in your hands, extending down, is your longsword. Friends, come back! You want to just grab them for me? Because I guess they're not paying attention. They probably don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. Okay. I hope, interesting for you, my friend. Mm-hmm. You can come back in. It's just the three of you who are in the basement.
Okay.
Yeah. So the three of you are standing here watching as Yalumlo, very similar Ethir as Nesgrim was standing, slightly trembling as this incense wraps around Adrian, kind of encasing the floor of this circle contained within it. The smoke does not disperse outside of it.
Okay.
And you watch as the smoke begins to fade and dissipate, and Adrian begins to shiver. Slightly different from before. Before it looked more like he was reveling in ecstasy. This it looks like a more violent, shaking shiver. And the smoke dissipates, and you see Yalumlo standing there, staring into the face of Adrian, slightly trembling at his sides. His hands slightly trembling at his sides. Oh. Oh my. Death has never felt so cold.
How do you mean?
And he reaches into the brazier. And he pulls up more of the soil and the ash, and he begins to lick his fingertips. Usually there's a bit of a different sensation at the end of life. But you, my friend, are quite different in a most satisfying way. Oh, thank you, Mr. Yalumlo.
I'm not sure that I understand.
What you've seen?
And what you are saying?
I don't know, how to explain what we see. Eh, Mr. Ethir?
Of course, it is unique.
Indeed. The visions are, I would say like dreams, but I'm not sure how well that would come across, my friend.
I understand that much at least.
Yes, you do. Curious that, well, I suppose I could say more hopeful that your friends obeyed the command of not gazing into the eye.
And why is that?
There may be some punishment in store for disobedience. The eye sees what it wants.
And why not me?
Oh, Mr. Yalumlo. The world in which the eye sees is not something that you can partake in.
Meaning,
Why would you put the eye out to punish people?
I don't appreciate theft, Mr. Ethir.
Fair, but staring into something does not equal theft.
There is a difference to theft and disobedience, but both deserve penalty.
All right.
Death deserves penalty?
Disobedience. Forgive me.
There are things worse than death, Nesgrim.
And that eye contains one of those things.
That is worse than death?
Indeed, Mr. Nesgrim.
does it make you green?
Oh. I
want to die. You want to die.
I truly enjoy a good sense of humor. So rare to find in the company I keep.
What company do you keep? Oh, God. That slow turn tells me I asked the wrong or right question.
Company that might be frowned upon by certain rigid minds. Those unwilling to push the boundaries of these thresholds we know. But we like to look behind the curtains.
And what do you give to look behind the curtain?
Give?
Earlier, the discussion you had with Ethir in regards to the transaction. I imagine all things come with a price.
They do.
What is the price you pay for your visions?
I pay with a debt.
A debt to whom?
Mr. Nesgrim.
God, man. Yes.
You're not the only one with a shadow. Oh, man. Aren't you?
Do I have a shadow?
Of course you do, Mr. Nesgrim.
Son of a bitch.
I look on the ground. It's right there.
A good sense of humor indeed, my green friend.
I do not suppose that this exchange that we have had is sufficient for the information that we seek.
I think it is quite satisfactory to my taste. I believe we should return to your friends. The strange elf may have quite the interest.
Okay.
I will immediately begin walking upstairs.
Yep, so you open the door once more. You guys begin ascending the steps. He pauses, and he puts his shirt back on, and he readorns and ties his shirt back together at the top, puts his robe back on, and begins to follow you guys back up the stairs. Sarah and Billy.
I'm also going to grab it and put on my cloak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to leave that behind for this man.
Still holding my mini keg.
Very good.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of that.
I'm gonna make the button that you can turn the lights on and off, so that way you can
They know.
send. Yes, you can call for people.
Okay, I like that. It's a good idea.
It just
Flickers, flashes.
Yeah.
pulses.
Yeah, so the two of you standing in here, do either of you take a gander at the
No,
eye
I'm
on
not
the counter?
looking at the eye.
Are you
I was saying I went outside.
Okay.
Like, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm like outside. Like I'm not staying in this structure.
Okay.
I made a wrong turn when I came in.
I do not want to actually follow these people.
I need a drink.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Let's
that.
go get another drink, okay?
Yeah, so the two of you, I'll say that you're like in the doorway with the door kind of still open, just so this way you can still hear the conversation. You're not staring at the eye.
I'm like doing that thing where like I like walk towards the door and then walk back and like
Pacing.
look like glance at the eye at the corner of my eye and then go no and then
You glance at the eye.
just like
Did you look at it? Did you look at the eye?
Get her.
You saying you looked at it?
You first.
You look at him? Yeah, look at him.
Make a con save. Congratulations, Soot, you're now
Let
stoned.
me get my book. No, I'm kidding.
I don't like
Yeah, you
look
don't
at it.
stare at it.
I
I
like,
got you.
you know,
Corner of your eye, like,
No.
see that it is
Hair in
still
front of the face,
See-
like.
see the jar there. Go,
But that
no,
makes
don't,
it scarier.
Yeah.
like don't do it.
Okay.
Just like like pacing back and forth between the door where Buck
It's standing.
is and the door where my companions have just disappeared to with this man who I do not like.
Yeah. So you see the tall standing black oak door at the back of the room open once more. You see Felix standing as he walks back into the center of the room,
Is Felix
followed
still
by
green?
the other three friends. Still green.
No, not anymore.
We took care of that.
I look a little worried.
A little?
A little worried.
You watch as your four friends pour back out into this small shop with you. And then Adrian returns once more, the hood, like the cowl of his robe, pulled back down still. So his hair is kind of sprawled around his ears.
I straighten up. I'll look confident, even though my hands are definitely like
Shaking.
yeah.
I slouch. Definitely not confident,
Yeah.
but I'm not afraid because I don't understand enough
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
be afraid.
Oh,
Defiant, I think is the word.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I just look confused.
Well, a lovely experience. Your questions of the Widow's Wail.
Indeed.
Now, what have you been told thus far of its use, of its existence?
It has many.
Indeed. And its growth, its origins.
Still unclear.
Interesting.
We know that it is attracted to death.
A lot of death.
Indeed. One could say, not so much simply fed by it, as though it transforms with its use. Mr. Ethir,
Yes.
your visions. For who taught you, do you understand how they function?
Not entirely. I only know from my experiences and the little teaching that I had.
Interesting. Do you know why you must burn the plants?
I assumed it released something within them.
Their life, Mr. Ethir. One could say that you, as you join yourself with that fleeting, parting, powerful existence of nature itself, that you enter it by letting it enter you,
I see.
and you join it on its journey towards death.
And how does this connect a watcher with those that they watch.
Oh. Do you mean how their visions manifest?
Yes, you saw something in Nesgrim. He is not dead.
Indeed.
You saw something in me. I am not dead.
Indeed.
And yet Ethir can do the same with the bones of one that has passed on.
Mr. Ethir sees their souls at a threshold before they fade into nothingness.
And what is it that you see?
I see the soul as it is split from its family, the various branches or threads of the web that wove it. He sees only the seed.
Do you see a history?
Indeed.
Must this history be linked to anything in particular?
It is a defining moment that transposes or transforms the individuals or a loved one.
Transform.
Oh yes, Mr. Nesgrim.
Into what?
I suppose you could say burning her was a mistake. Oh, Mr. Nesgrim.
Do you mean my mother?
Oh. Some flames can't be extinguished, Mr. Nesgrim.
Thank you for all of the information you've given us.
You're most welcome, darling.
Excuse me?
My funny green friend.
Yes, I am the funny one.
And the green one.
Yes,
He is
the
so
package.
fucking green.
Widow's Wail,
Yes.
the origin.
Oh. I'm afraid I'm not quite sure where its first sapling was born.
If you had to guess.
A studied man, aren't you?
A bit.
A bloody crusade would yield ample story for it to feed upon.
Does it
Perhaps something deeper?
does it feed on blood for the same reason you feed on blood?
Oh,
not
I don't
feed.
feed on blood,
But
Mr. Nesgrim.
Does it utilize blood similarly to how you do?
Perhaps. Perhaps that is why it is different in each area, Mr. Nesgrim, as though upon whom it feed changes it. I wonder what your family made it into.
I think we should be going. I think we should be going now.
How delightful. Ashes to ashes, Mr. Nesgrim.
Dust to dust.
Yeah, I don't.
To the dirt we shall return.
Okay.
You say there is nothing else you can tell us of these plants.
Well, some individuals may abuse a particular use of it.
Such as?
Isn't that right, darling?
Perhaps you could elaborate?
Oh, a family that satiates itself with eccentric tastes may find its progeny also bears that stain. Actual Sarah's crying.
Sounds like my actual nightmares.
When Sarah's actually the white bone.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna stand defiant. Still shaking.
Yes, my dear. Not all harvests. Not all harvests. No. Oh, but it lingers. Well, my friends.
Thank you for all the information you've given us.
Oh, you've given me much more.
Perhaps one day we can
Share
balance.
our shadows.
What?
Nothing, Mr. Nesgrim.
What? Okay.
We really must be going.
Yeah. Let's.
I agree.
Thank you so very much. And you can watch as he's standing near the counter, he places his hand on the lid of the jar that contains the eye, and he turns it towards himself and just trails his finger down the side of the glass. Ooh. Have a lovely day. I hope to see you all again much sooner than you anticipate. We all have needs. Don't we, Mr. Nesgrim?
Can we turn
Into-
off the
into
freaking
Nesgrim's
child
mind.
music?
He wants to fuck.
Adrian,
Yes.
you seem to have taken a.
We really must be going, Nesgrim. We have things that we must drop off.
I think now is a good time.
Would be
Yup.
great.
Sure.
Please.
Let's go.
As you begin to walk out, you just hear him kind of chuckling as he's holding his palm, the base of his finger at the bottom, like tip of his finger at the base of the jar. And he just begins to kneel down, looking into the eye. And he stands stationary as you all leave.
I'm going to stop at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Give me just a moment.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to walk back across the room.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull out 3 silver coins.
Okay.
And I'm going to roll my sleeve up and rub some of my blood onto them. And I'm going to pass them to him, and into his mind I'm going to say, I will be coming back for more straightforward answers.
He maintains eye contact with the eye, and his hand lurches out towards you, palm extended, for you to put the pieces in.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hear him whisper in a shrill, almost disconnected voice.
Dare say payment.
Oh, yes, you will. And the hand returns back to his side with the silver and the blood staining them. And you see the eye, still making eye contact with him, suddenly, quickly, dart in your direction.
I will look directly at it.
Mm-hmm. Nothing happens to you. And then the eye darts back towards him, and you can see that his hand is holding the silver pieces in front of the jar. Anything else you would like to do in here?
Goodbye, Adrian.
Goodbye.
And I will walk out.
Mm-hmm. You're all standing out here on the street.
Mm-hmm.
I begin walking.
Very different.
I begin walking towards Slums North.
Okay.
Yeah, we must go see Clark,
Pop
right?
to my map.
Let's go return or hand this ale to him.
Mm-hmm.
I have something that I must take care of. Please, when you are finished with Clark, if you would be so kind as to meet me in my shop. You know where to find me and where it is.
Yes.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the other 5. Okay.
Let's go.
Goodbye. So the other 5 of you begin to go towards Slums North. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very good.
I clutch my pass just to make
Mhm.
sure.
Okay. Let me pop over to the.
I'll need time of day.
Yeah, it's beginning to become like little later in the afternoon because you guys had begun your journey for the day in the middle of the afternoon. So I would say approximately like 4 to 5 p.m. It's not been that long.
It's almost happy hour. What do you say, fellas?
Let's.
We have
Uh,
a delivery to make.
I'll try to hide what I'm holding.
Although we are going back to Luna's after the delivery for our meeting tonight.
That's what I like to hear.
And
I imagine
Oh,
there will be alcohol.
Yeah, that's
plenty.
so I'm down. Yeah.
Buck. Felix. Felix. Buck.
He's so fucking green.
He's so fucking tall.
He really is. He is very fucking big.
Look up and like,
Howdy.
Mm-hmm.
hello.
Yeah. You guys make your way along the eastern wall of Slums West towards.
Going to think to myself, I am the most normal fucking person here.
Uh-huh.
This is
No,
very strange.
I fucked that thing. Yeah, that wasn't.
Delicious.
As I'm gonna kind of like fall behind Yalumlo a little bit, and as we're walking, I'm gonna just kind of like watch the back of his neck, see if I
Does
can
this make Nesgrim my shadow?
to see if I can see any markings that start to poke out of his clothing as he's walking.
Are you in terms of like tattoos? You mean?
Yeah.
No, correct.
I mean, I have a scarf.
Yeah. So you wouldn't really
Also,
say anything. Like,
we're walking
it's
outside,
up,
so-
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
so you
it
could
would
have
be
it all the way up,
like
yeah,
that.
He's
you're right.
covered from nose to
Yep.
toe.
Yep. He is fully like even full up to wrist, like gloves and everything. So yeah.
I mean, in the basement would have been like the most of my arm. That
Yeah,
you
and you would
would
have seen, the same skin coloration as exists on his
face.
forehead and
Yeah.
face. Yes. So, as we make our way towards the gate that permits us entrance to Slums North, as you guys are walking up, you can see that the guard who is currently working for the, the west slum side is a decent. I guess really average height, older looking human woman. She has straight, frizzy gray hair, kind of extends down to about mid neck, just borderline touching her shoulders. You can see that she bears some wrinkles like on her cheeks, definitive like smile lines and wrinkles on her forehead. Fair skinned, and you can see as well that at the bottom of her left eye in the corner extending out is a small curved tattoo of an X.
Of an X.
Correct. She is toned looking as you're approaching her. She is wearing the same kind of like chainmail, and along her back you can see the shaft of what looks like a long mace-like weapon that extends down her back to her side.
What time is it?
About like 4 to 5 p.m.
About how long until dark?
Approximately like an hour, 2 hours at most.
Enough time to get to Clark and get back.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so as you approach her, she's just kind of like standing there very stoically, defiantly, proud of her position, it seems. And as you guys approach her, I'm assuming everyone is brandishing their passes. As you approach her, I feel like you would know her. Her name is Abby.
Okay.
Okay. As you all are approaching, Buck, you would probably know her as well, just because of how frequently you
Past
go
her.
in and out, between
Yeah.
the districts. You know that she is stoic, quiet, and it's about, in terms of like your interactions, what she has given you two as your impressions of her.
And she's carrying a giant mace.
Correct.
That's my type.
Right? So as you guys approach her, she just kind of looks out, blinks slowly at all of you.
Smile at her.
All right, and passing through.
Yes.
Indeed.
Okay. Very good. She reaches over and pulls the lever, and you see the gate begin to ascend. Careful now. You know how the north is.
Thank you, Abby.
Quite welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would be heading through.
You guys begin walking through. As you all make
that
your
was
way
the-
in.
That
Least
was
problematic.
so fucking green.
Least problematic guard interaction we've had so far.
As you make your way through, she's just kind of like, still standing, tall, firm, well-postured, pulls the lever once more. You see the gate begin to descend back downwards, and she continues to stare out, not at you guys, like she is transfixed on her position.
What
You
a
guys,
cool lady.
you guys make it to the other side, and you can see that it is a... Again, she is on the inside of the tunnel. The guards of Slums North stay on the inside of the tunnel. They have the lever on the inside. You can see that it is a shorter woman. Yalumlo and Buck, you would recognize this woman is Isabella. She has curly length, kind of like an angled bob cut, black hair. She has bright yellowish green eyes. She's muscular as well, same chainmail, and as you guys are approaching her, she is looking out into Slums North, so as she hears your footsteps, she turns back towards all of you and instantly pulls her hands together in a very chipper fashion and... Yes, okay!
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
All right. How are
evening.
you?
Good evening. It's a good day.
Sure is.
Standing here a long time.
Yes.
Not
Are
much
you
to do.
Done
nearing
soon?
the end of your
Hey,
shift?
no news is good news, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in the north.
I know. It's been kind of rough the last couple days. Stuff with the orphanage and
Yeah.
all that. Someone told me there was a weird guy at night. I don't know.
You have not seen this weird guy?
I haven't, no. Somebody told me earlier. I think he left. I don't know where he went.
What did they mean by weird? What did they say?
The big pale guy?
Yeah.
Big pale guy.
Yeah. I guess he would
Yeah,
stand
he
out.
looks kind of
that's
weird.
what
He
we
doesn't
heard.
really talk either.
I guess that would stand out. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll keep an eye out.
It's gonna be a good day though.
Oh yeah.
Indeed.
Oh, you guys want to get through?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
please.
Sorry.
It's quite alright.
I'm tired. It's almost done. I just want to go home and sit and eat. She pulls the lever. You watch as the north gate begins to ascend.
Passes.
You're right. You need a pass.
I have one. It's right here.
I assume since you got in the tunnel, you probably got one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I
So
hope
in
so,
fact-
because that'd be bad if you were in the tunnel and you didn't have a pass. That would mean you hurt someone over there. Then I'd have to hit you.
Please
I
don't.
do not think any of us, well, perhaps the big one, but I do not think any of the rest of us are fit to hurt Abby.
And yeah, she kind of looks up at you.
Hey,
Abby'd probably fuck most of us up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one
I
is
got that
big, but he
impression.
seems kind of gentle.
Gentle giant. I like that. That's a good saying. I'm gonna call you that now, Mr. Buck.
all right. Sounds good.
Oh shit, the gate's open. You guys gotta hurry. People are gonna run through.
Of course.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Good
you.
to
Bye.
see you, Isabella.
You too. She waves, pulls the lever, and the gate once more descends downwards.
She's nice.
For now.
She has your bones.
Until she has orders to chop you in half.
Okay.
Get
And we make our
Has she
way
done
back
that to
over
people
towards
before?
the pawn man.
That's right.
He's a guard.
Zip on man.
Pawn man.
Yeah, so he is
They
right
chopped me in half.
right south of the area where you guys enter
Buck.
into.
upon man.
Jerky.
Okay, I'm just making sure Buck didn't get chopped in
Oh,
half at
no.
some point.
No. No, he would probably remember that. That's a pretty big one.
You never know.
Okay.
The way things are going.
Yeah, you guys approach the building. Door is unlocked because, it's still working hours for him. You open the door, Felix, and you step inside. You can see that Clark is currently looked as though he is shining some, boots. As though he is making sure that the patchwork leather strips that he has affixed to them are properly embedded, and then kind of clean as best as realistically his little bit of oil can possibly provide for it. Hey, Mr. Felix.
Hello, Clark.
Good to see you again, my friend.
Here you are. I'll...
Very much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Of course. And, did she charge you? Forgive me.
2 gold.
2? Not so bad. All right. And you watch as he just kind of leans back around his counter, around the end of it, reaches behind, and you hear a few coins clink, and he pulls out 4 gold, and he tosses it in your direction.
Thank you.
Of course, my friend. I appreciate the kindness. And, brings all of you lovely people back to me.
We were making the delivery with
Felix.
Felix.
Turns out the rest of these already knew this green man.
Quite green, of course.
He is very fucking green.
Yes.
I do not suppose you have seen...
Oh, your friend, Seamus.
Indeed.
I have. Seamus has been provided lodgings, safely, securely, and with discretion.
I do not suppose he can continue to be provided for very long with what I have given him.
Well, as long as he is willing to work and assist me and the others as best as he can, Seamus will be provided shelter and a home.
I appreciate that.
Of course, my friend. Happy to help.
Thank you.
Very welcome. And did you all need anything else? Unfortunately, Madeline is still in the midst of her delirium. Ideally, this ale will grant her some reprieve.
Hopefully.
Actually, go ahead.
Is there need for more coin for the upkeep of Madeline's health?
I think the surplus that you paid, and I do owe her a fair debt of my own. I'm all right with caring for her for a few days more.
Well, if there is anything else that we can do, do not hesitate to ask.
Of course, I appreciate all of your assistance in making sure that the good structures of Slums North stay standing.
Do you know, who would you recommend I speak to about repairing my armor?
Not any of the shopkeepers in Slums North, friend.
Right. Slums West, probably, then.
Most likely. For... Miss Nura's forge is, sadly in a state of disrepair and has always been, but she provides the services that she can. She might attempt to, but her training is, a bit outdated.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. As for individuals in Slums West, this has always been my home. Can't really direct you to anyone in particular.
I understand.
Though your standing with our friend Miss Luna may provide you a potential accommodation. Depends on whether or not he is busy.
Noted. I'll make sure to speak to her about that the next time I see her.
Of course. If he is, don't take it personally. He very rarely spends time at home.
Okay, understand.
Of course.
Have you heard anything further from the orphanage since we last saw you?
As far as I know, Lauren received the children successfully.
That is good.
Yes, not as many as she was anticipating, it seemed. Madeline's notes indicated, I believe she said 6, but only 3 were brought.
Where were they brought from?
They were orphans from individuals who were executed on the 1st of Elsith.
And
Parents committed crimes, and sadly that is the traditional methodology of handling those poor, unfortunate children.
Who handles them prior to them arriving?
Oh,
at the
they
orphanage?
are, suppose you could say, held by the guards in the North Guardhouse. And then, as preparations are made with the orphanage, the guards themselves deliver the children.
do you know what 3... not... Do you know anything about the 3 children that were missing?
You mean the ones who were not delivered?
Yes.
Unfortunately, no, friend. I have my reservations with approaching the gallows.
I can understand that, yeah.
Hopefully they are just the product of a miscommunication and nothing more.
I hope so. Truly do.
It is a harsh city,
It is.
even more so on this particular side, as you know.
Indeed. I fear, though, that if 3 are missing, that they may have been peculiar children.
It's unfortunate.
Indeed. I assume you noticed that at the orphanage there were not peculiar children.
Define peculiar.
Yeah, he genuinely points at Felix, at Ritora.
Okay.
Individuals who, I suppose you could say their appearance is a bit more unorthodox compared to...
And Buck?
Oh, we don't really have many Goliaths in the city.
They're not considered peculiar?
They're a bit more exotic.
Okay.
You will have to forgive Nesgrim. He has not been here very long. He is not used to the terminology.
I understand.
Only 2 days I've been here.
I think it's been 3
Three.
days.
3 days. So
I understand.
He was
What a 3 days.
unconscious for a portion of that.
That's
probably a solid 24 hours, yeah.
Yeah, the peculiar ones are, you'll know them when you see them.
And I smile at Nesgrim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they stand out. Yeah, sorry, dear. I know you do as well. Nothing against you. It must... wherever you're from.
While we're talking, I'd like to just have a look around.
In terms of, like, what he has in his shop.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is it a magic thing or a race thing? That's what I can't figure out.
I think it's a race thing.
Yeah, so I mean, all of his things look like they are traditional adventuring gear, as though they are dirty, worn, tarnished, broken, patched.
Do you have 100 feet of rope?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can get you 2 sets of 50.
Sure.
Cool. And he just kind of like steps up from his small stool that he's sitting on as he works. And you can see that he reaches into like a large crate that is behind him, and he pulls up 2 sets of rope.
How much do I owe you?
I mean, you seem like good folk. 2 silver's fine.
All right.
And he extends you the 2 long 50 feet of, it would be hemp rope.
Cool.
Anyone else, need anything? Mostly tools. I do what I can to help people, get by.
I mean, this has been
Yeah,
incredibly
cloak?
helpful.
Good. I'm glad.
Color could be
more colorful.
A bit less obvious, but
Yeah,
it's unavoidable.
unfortunately.
I came primarily to check in on Seamus and to make sure that there would be no further need of payment, and if there were, that it was provided for.
Well, as I said, we've been given Seamus the day to kind of collect himself. Pretty heavy transition for him from what his life was before, but with his skill set, he'll be able to assist us.
And you can keep the guards away from him.
Absolutely. Where we stay hidden is quite remote.
Very good.
Of course.
It is greatly appreciated.
You're very welcome, friend. I do what I can to assist the individuals who have been displaced find a safer home.
It's very kind of you.
Thank you.
I suppose that we should leave you to your business. We must be returning to Luna before the evening.
Oh, of course. Say hello for me.
Of course.
Give her my regards, and if I need an additional delivery, see whether or not if you guys are available, if we can bring some more of the ale back. If not, have one of her friends bring it for me. Perhaps the tiny one.
There may be some difficulty in the future.
With Corin being gone?
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that Luna's good friends have practiced sufficiently to be able to provide the ale in his absence.
We have also looked into what they know of the ingredients for this ale, so perhaps we will be of some help in that.
Very good. Of course. Fantastic.
If all is well, there should not be as much shortage as originally anticipated.
Very good. Thank you. With the state she is in, I'm assuming it'll be several more days. It appeared as though she had been subjected to it for a long time.
That's what it seems.
Yes.
Do you think continued use of the ale will cure her, or will it just manage what's happening?
Tough to say. I mean,
It was able to help you.
with the
We don't know if that was the ale or the dirt.
the experience that I have is much more limited, but Luna and Corin, being the ones in charge, they've dealt with not cases like this, but I suppose you could say similar in assisting with individuals who had abused it for personal value in their recuperation.
Noted. Okay. I'll ask Luna about that as well then.
Of course.
Were they
Yes.
able to identify the decay on her sternum?
And he just kind of like once more pulls the little bit of his shirt down and exposes it. It's strange, not seen the rot in so long.
It seemed to be the byproduct of something that she was wearing.
Interesting. Curious.
I think I still have that. I
The
don't
locket?
think I ever gave it back to her.
You do
right?
have the locket.
I would fish it out to show it to him.
That's strange. How curious. Doesn't seem right to me that metal would carry, you know?
It seemed to be this particular silver.
Perhaps. Perhaps there was something inside of it.
It was an unusual locket.
Seems like it, things that were going on there seem quite unusual.
I do not suppose that there is a friend that would be able to look into it further.
evaluate the magics contained within?
Yes.
Yes. Miss Luna's friend, who, if he is available to repair your companion's armor here, possibly be able to determine the metal, and then another of her associates may be able to discern the magical properties.
Very well.
Very good.
I'm gonna
Put it back in
roll
your bag.
back up and
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mr. Fizzlewick.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm so excited now! But, thank you all. I'll tell Seamus, though, that you checked in on him, Yalumlo.
thank you.
Of course.
I look forward to hearing from you if you need another delivery.
Of course, friends. Pleasure.
As always.
I'm gonna turn and leave.
Yep. You
Duck
guys,
out of the shop.
yeah, you guys exit the Pawn Man.
Mm-hmm.
You begin walking back.
Should we go to Ethir's shop?
Yes.
So we will have you guys walk through, same guards, because it obviously has not been that long. But as you guys are making your way back towards Ethir's shop, we're going to swap. So if you want to send Don back in,
You got it.
Don's got like a thing or two that I'm going to do with him real quick, and then we'll have you guys all catch up and reconvene.
Sure. On the way, the only thing I would say is, have you always been this green?
No.
It ain't easy.
No.
No.
Definitely a curse.
All right, Don. On your way back, you get stabbed 38 times. Cool. Let me pop back to map. Is there anywhere that you had in mind for stopping as you make your way over?
Not in particular. I would have gone just
Straight back? Okay.
pretty much as quickly as I could get there.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, since it would be as you left the Brood Wing, you're literally just opposite side of the street. So
Yep.
you would make your way across Guards Highway, back up Grave Robbers Road, where you live. Great street, man. Really proud of that
really
one.
is. Really.
Okay.
Just a good one.
Yeah, so you arrive back at your shop. It is still closed and locked from the last you left it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I go inside and I grab a piece of cloth that I have lying around, and I take all of the bones off of the shelf. I
Okay.
wrap them in the cloth.
You remember you said your shelves are made of bone?
Yep.
You're taking the shelves
Taking
down?
the shelves down, I guess,
Yep,
too.
so you're
Yeah, forgot about
deconstructing
that.
everything?
Shouldn't have fucking
Okay.
said that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm taking the shelves down.
Okay.
I assume it's just like bone and then like a wire or something that they're sitting in. So I'll leave the wire. I'm just taking the bones
Bones
off.
out. Okay.
And just kind of wrapping them with little scraps and scribbling on what they are so I can reassemble
Assemble them later.
in the future.
Okay.
And I take them out behind the shop and I just kind of dig in a way that I'm...
So I would say if you would like to, because you are occupying the space via a disheveled kind of ransacked wagon,
Okay.
I would say that there is sufficient elevation if you would like to bury under the floor of your own shop. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
underneath areas of the wagon
Okay.
that would almost be obscured.
Sure,
This way you're
that's
not
what I'm-
burying it
yeah.
in the road.
Sure.
Like that is...
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured I was just going like around it, but yes, if I'm occupying this
Yeah,
like
I
weird...
mean, knowing that
It's like a weird side street type of deal. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it's something where, honestly, right behind you, you would be in view of the quiet night.
Yeah, I don't want
like,
that.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it to where
Sure.
you satisfyingly know where you're burying it.
Okay.
It's in a safe location for you.
Okay.
But you're still doing it out of sight of people.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna dig down, just using my shield, a space I guess next to or in the cart if the bottom's like knocked out.
Correct.
I'll put it in there so that way it's obscured by the shadow of it essentially,
Correct.
so that way nobody's gonna notice
Yep.
the digging in the ground.
Okay. Yeah.
And put the cloth in there, cover it up, and
Bury
smooth
with
it
it.
over.
Okay.
And then just wait
Okay.
for
Yeah.
my friends.
You want to go grab them then?
Yep. Cool. I'll just flicker the lights.
That is a very helpful command.
Yeah, I'm gonna set that up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Blossom Blizzard. The character info, we have the D&D Beyond overlay if you're on PC that shows you everybody's stuff. We don't have the characters listed on the website, but we do have some artwork of the characters on there as well as on Twitter.
I mean,
and
if you
things.
want, we can go back to doing how we did with Fall, with doing like the character bio, because we had that before for like Grimdar and everybody.
If we did it for our characters, I don't think we need it for like all the NPCs.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff, 'cause
yeah. I
that's-
just mean
that's
for you
hard.
guys individually, if that is something that you guys are interested in doing, like 100%, feel free.
If I ever get time, and if any watchers want to contribute, I do want to make a wiki.
Yeah,
for,
Sarah wants to
all
make
of
a
us.
wiki, so that
Fuck
way.
yeah, I think that's awesome.
For Oshuamp in general,
There's
and
a
any
lot
future
there. Yeah.
campaigns.
There's a lot of information to keep straight. A wiki would be really helpful for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Trust me, I know. I have to do all of it.
Just to the point where I was drawing
Frank,
forward.
it's fucking agonizing, dude.
Funny.
Drawing forward,
You do it to
literally
yourself.
Had
I
to
know.
go back to the episode that he was introduced in and rewatch the part that he was introduced just to figure out what he actually looks like when I was drawing him. But no, if anyone wants to help with that or contribute to that, it'd be much I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I feel
Neither can I.
I feel real weird about
No one can.
rewatching episodes.
And that's a lot of
And
content
that's
to
a lot of
rewatch.
content to rewatch. And I have two
But I also
jobs.
don't want to. I don't want to put the onus on the DM of the campaigns because they have enough work to do already.
Okay. So the five of you arrive back at the entrance to the Carriage of Curiosities, and Ethir, you are standing here. You said simply waiting. So
Yep.
it's a flap for the tent to pull open.
Yeah, I just kind of push the flap aside and beckon them in
To your bone tent.
to my bun tent.
You may describe how it looks now, Don, with your changes.
It's empty. There's nothing in here. The
What?
I
So
look relieved.
The table in the center where that one fragment of bone was is still there. Like the wire that the bones were sitting on that made the shelves are there, but
the
all of the
bones?
bones are gone.
What did you do?
You've redecorated.
I mean, I don't
Say
dislike
that.
it, but
Does he look
It's-
uncomfortable?
Yes.
It's up to you. Yeah.
it's less of a museum now.
Something wrong?
I have never hated anyone in my entire life. And I hate that man.
Yes.
Why is that?
Do you what? Do
He
you need
does
to
not respect death
or life?
or life. He uses it for transactions, for information that he has, regardless of whether or not it is information that would help someone or prevent them from dying. He has no respect for anyone but himself. And I do not trust that he would not come to my shop and take the things that I have to use them for himself. And so I have taken them down and hidden them, and I will put them back up at the time when I need to open up during the festival next season.
Does he know where your shop is?
It is not hard to find a bone museum in
It's
a
fair.
district.
It is a bone tent.
That's fair.
There are not any or many of them at all other than mine.
It would stand out, I suppose. Yeah.
I do not like that man.
That man was.
I do not like the way he spoke to you. I don't like the way he spoke to you. I certainly don't like what he implied about me.
But the information he
Was it inaccurate?
provides.
I do not know. I do not wish to know at the present moment.
Would it not be helpful to know?
I am currently stuck in this city. I have not seen my family in years. What I do or do not know about them is not relevant at this present moment.
I am not concerned with the information that he has given, as it is, of course, helpful. But the method in which he conducts himself is unacceptable to me. I do what I do. You may think of it what you wish, similar or not, but I do it so that people may be helped and may pass on and not sit waiting endlessly to cross.
And he does it for profit.
He does it for profit and for information and not to help people. He simply sees but does not act. And I cannot stand by that. We are not the same.
Do you not see any way that you could help by seeing, even if there was no further action?
Of course, but he refuses to give information to those that need it unless they provide him with something additional in return. He did not choose to tell us about the plants until whatever you saw, you offered to him.
And he refused to tell me more information about my vision.
Until Nesgrim comes back again
Right.
and gives him more. If he truly cared about the people that he is trying to help, he would offer the information and perhaps they would offer him things in exchange. It is not a transaction.
I do not know if that is true. He claimed that he had a shadow, that perhaps there was something that he was giving up of himself in order to see these things. If that is so, then much like one labors for money, I imagine it would be fair for him to request something in exchange. If he endangers himself or loses himself, I do not know how it works, but
He did say the price he paid was not all of us have a shadow.
Of course.
So one day
But
death will come from him for him all the same, probably sooner than later.
Death will come for all of us at some point. It is not something that is easily avoidable. Corin obviously a little bit different than most,
Right.
but
I don't
And
think he
Nesgrim?
wishes it
and
that way.
Nesgrim. Fucking Nesgrim.
fucking Nesgrim.
Everything has a price, but the idle profiteering and enjoyment of seeing someone else horrified and suffering is not something that I choose to take part in.
Do you think that you could see the way that he was doing so?
I could try. I have only ever used bones, never blood.
Perhaps if you were able,
Would you like
could
to
give
try?
Nesgrim some of the answers.
Would you like to
Adrian
try
was
while we're
unwilling to.
I could certainly try, yes. I
Right.
would not charge you either, nor take pleasure in your horrifying visions.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we can try and see what we can do.
Perhaps after we've met with Luna again.
Yes,
Sounds good.
Nesgrim doesn't look like he can take much more.
perhaps not today after.
Nesgrim is very good at losing blood and staying on his feet.
I've
True.
been
Being
told
put
otherwise.
back on his feet.
He is on his feet right now.
For now.
For now.
Have you seen how much blood he has lost?
What did they-
Like, this man over
what
here
did
is
he-
green. That one might as well be red.
What did he do?
He used my blood similar to the way that Ethir uses bones.
He kind of sniffed the blood.
You
And-
gave him your blood?
A touch.
Why would you do that?
A fair trade.
That's what he needed for the vision, and I was given information.
Are you pleased with this information you've been given?
Um,
Has any of it been
well, while we're here in the safety of Ethir's tent, actually.
Ethir's bone tent.
Yes.
I don't think it's.
The tent
It's-
previously known as Ethir's Bone Tent.
I think now it is just a tent.
The artist
Formerly known as Ethir's
The tent formerly known as Ethir's bone tent.
The tent formerly known as the property of the artist formerly known as Ethir.
That's going to be a big sign.
Yes.
It's a very big sign.
In
Perhaps you
actually
could
one
come up with a
entire wall.
symbol
yeah, it takes all of it.
of sorts. A symbol would be effective.
Yes, that would be good.
The vision that I was
Oh,
granted.
yes, of course.
My father and I were back in Ogrpool. And
Where was that?
What the fuck?
Outside of Oshuamp.
Yes, but what was the name?
Ogrpool. Ogarpul.
Have you been there?
Yes. Yes.
Were you not?
You did not think to bring that up as we were talking about horrifying monsters?
Well, while passing through the Ogre Pool Woods once, my father and I came upon white orcs marked with a black claw on their chest.
Definitely heard you talk about white orcs before.
In
It
reference,
did not really seem to be in context at the
Yes.
it
time.
was
Yes.
referencing bones.
Yes, I thought they were made from
it was a
bones.
bone comparison.
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
That's right.
However, in this vision, I was in Ogre Pool, and my father was knelt down at a mound of dirt, holding a bouquet of lilies in one hand. And as he laid it on the mound of dirt with a headstone at the end, he said they've not found him yet, which I can only imagine was in reference to me. And then said, the flowers fell from his hand, and he dug his hand in the dirt, and then the flowers began to fall away from the stems and blanket the mound of dirt. And following that, he stood with his hand still in the dirt and turned to meet me, and that's when I saw a great shadow rise up behind him. And then small tendrils of shadow and darkness began to cling and string away from his face. And the last thing I heard as the vision was ending was, "Hark, lest you court the seraph's cry." So earlier when he mentioned you will hear that cry sooner rather than later, I imagine that's what he was referencing. I just don't know in regards to what that pertains to. Just that a seraph will cry, and that is apparently somehow related to Retora.
Me?
He said it while speaking to you, yes. I am right on that, right? Like he was talking to Retora and then went, Nesgrim, you, right?
He was talking to her about her things, and then specifically, while still looking at her at first, said, "I think you will hear that cry soon enough."
Yeah. So somehow that is related to Retora. The black claw on the ogre's chest is obviously the same black...
Not ogre's chest, orc chest.
Orc chest is the same that I imagine, or similar to that Ethir saw, I saw in my vision, as well as Beware the Black Claw.
Felix, are you okay?
That's a fucking curse.
Is he turning green?
You look ill.
Oh, do I look ill?
Yes, you
You look a little green.
more green than usual.
Ha ha ha.
DJ, I will tell you as well that one of the sentences from your father in your vision, because I understand it's difficult to write all of it down, one of the sentences was, "No, my love, our son will not be thrall to the defiled."
I remember that. Okay.
It's an actual curse.
You use these words, John. I know. And like
Scary.
they're scary, and I don't always know what they mean.
So thrall to the defiled,
Thrall is like a servant. Someone
like a vampire's thrall.
someone bonded to.
The defiled, like I don't know who they are. I don't.
Well, I
Felix, you can roll for history.
Sure, man.
part of me thinks that the defiled are probably opposite the awakened.
16.
That's my
16. So
I
I will say, for what you have studied, you know that the defiled possibly would be in reference to... The simplest way is fanatical worshippers. Like defiled with a capital D.
Fanatical worshippers of anything?
Unknown.
Of unknown?
An
Capital
other,
U.
yeah, like an otherworldly thing, and you would know that it is a ritualistic.
Sabrina.
It is a ritualistic thing that is
Blackfire,
practiced
she is.
by
Not all-
effectively like fanatic people in various locations in the world.
Not all flames burn out.
Yeah, like fire she is. Shouldn't have burned her.
Nesgrim?
Mama, can you hear me?
Nesgrim? Are you a devout man?
I wouldn't say that. I've devoted myself to an oath, but not a deity.
Who are you? Who's that?
That's just me having a great time, Sarah.
The wind. That sweet Oshuamp breeze.
In the tent.
Father Oshuamp himself.
I think you like playing Adrian a little
Oh,
too.
he's a fucking blast.
Just to be like,
I literally had to restrain myself from not hitting him. It was so difficult.
This is a very elaborate vision.
What do you know of the Defiled?
I know nothing of the Defiled.
what do you know of the Defiled?
They're fanatics. And they
Of?
worship something.
Great.
This is not very
Anybody
specific.
have religion? Something that's not from here?
I mean, I do, but
From here, like Oshuamp?
Like here?
Like the bone tent?
No. this world.
Are there other worlds?
So, Felix, as a student, you would know that there are other. You would associate them as planes of existence.
Right.
You've never been.
Right.
You would know through studious years and through your father's education that definitively other places do exist. There have been individuals who have, I suppose you could say, been marked or had experiences with them, but in terms of travel to them, not
No.
so much.
Right. Yes. So what did the Defiled want from you?
I don't know.
probably your soul or something.
You would also know, Nesgrim, the other part of that sentence is, he is pure. We shall answer eternal in his stead.
Yeah,
Wail no longer, darling.
I definitely wrote that. I know I did.
This corrupted clay is faintly
Oh, here
a
it is.
prison.
What is saying?
We all know more this corrupted
His
plane
father
is a
said
prison.
that.
Okay, yeah, I did write it. Okay.
Presumably to his mother,
Could you say it?
in reference to him.
Yeah, I'm just reminding you
No,
of this
yeah.
because this definitively would be something Nesgrim know. I know that
Right.
that vision is a lot of information again, and it's very difficult to write that all down.
My handwriting's really bad.
Presumably you share all of that.
Correct.
Yes.
You
Yep.
also did you when you described him laying the lilies? Did you describe the claw that birthed from
I
the
sure
dirt?
didn't. Yes. This one I want to do.
Yeah.
There, as his hand was reaching into the dirt, I saw a claw
Scaled claw
Scaled
with
black
long
claw.
talons.
meet his hand, palm to fist, and the fingers and thumb were digging into his forearm. So the claw was quite larger than his hand. It completely engulfed it.
Is this...
Has this happened?
It sounds like you. Man, that sounds like a real bad dream, man. So we still
do remember
going to
asking-
get drinks? Or...
I do remember asking Adrian if it seemed as though a transaction had taken place, and he said it did appear similar to that, but he wasn't sure.
Perhaps a bargain?
And payment.
That is a fucking cursed
For
word.
your I know that's an actual curse.
I
you
might
idiot.
be
Sounds
cursed.
like a bargain, but it does not sound like he is cursed.
It sounds like
It
his
sounds
whole
like there was an
life.
exchange so
son
that
is
he would
cursed.
not be cursed.
And as the claws of the talons of the claw dug, I saw blood begin to spill and spray from his arm.
Do you recall your father ever having this wound?
I imagine if that happened to Nesgrim as a person, I'd remember that happening.
I
right?
mean, you, from when your father grew very ill, he was in quarantine.
right. So
And when
I
you
didn't
were permitted to see him, he would have been very, covered
from head to toe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he would have been bedridden.
But as far as that event in the vision, that's something that didn't. If it happened literally in my past, I'd remember it. So it's not something.
It's
that
not an experience that you may have been there for, is what I would dictate
Gotcha.
to you.
That,
Okay,
right, that's the
understood.
question. The question I'm
Understood.
asking is, assuming this occurred,
Yeah. Did I see
and
the
you were
wound?
seeing something that happened that you weren't actually present for, did Nesgrim see evidence to suggest that it actually happened at a different time, quite possibly recalling what his father looked like in the vision compared to a time that his father still looked that way, and seeing his father
the scars, yeah.
between then and when he
So I will say to you, in
became
terms
sick.
of the ill state that your father was in,
Right.
when you saw his facial features as he turned to you, that same pale face, black circles around his eyes.
So his death face was the one that I
Correct.
saw. His face was flush white with very dark circles beneath his eyes, similar to that of the appearance of corpses that had died from the rot that Corin described to us.
And
Did you recognize the place where this was?
Yes, we were in the Ogre Pool Woods.
You also would recognize that the burial mound, like I said, is where you laid to rest
Right.
nothing, but you created a memorial for your mother.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
the headstone.
Yeah, that was my mother's head, yeah.
I agree with Yalum Lo. I am fairly certain that your father made some sort of bargain with who knows what to stop you from falling privy to some curse.
I wonder if I'm being recruited, or the potential of being recruited, almost. Maybe they don't want me dead, they want my service.
Are you sure these visions can be trusted?
No.
They could very well be fabricated. If he's as business oriented as
They
you
were
seem to
awfully
think.
detailed visions with information that he would not have had.
Do I remember any scars on my father's forearm similar to that would look like a claw digging into it?
I mean, I would say, in terms of when you are associating visually, this would have happened, like, right around the time for possibly when your father was already quarantined. Do you know what I'm saying?
So this might have been
Because-
while he was in quarantine.
Yes.
Understood.
Hence why you would not be present. As
And
though
that-
he was ill.
Oh, that wasn't his actual body, that was his spirit. Okay. Is that right?
That's what you may make that assumption.
Okay.
I am telling you that based on the visualizations of how your father looked in the state of illness, that your father would have already been ill, been quarantined, and during the time frame, because your father was quarantined for a few years before
Right.
he died.
Right.
So somewhere in that time frame in which you were not permitted very much access at all to your father, the times when you did see him, you would associate his physical features
Right.
and state of being as in that frame of time.
Okay.
What is it that happened to your mother?
She also fell ill.
At the same time as your father?
Not at the same time. It was long,
25 years before.
long before.
Before?
Did you know your mother?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, you knew your mother quite well. You were
Yeah.
20 when your mother passed.
Right. Yes, I did.
So how long before your father passed?
He was in quarantine for a few years after he got sick,
And your mother passed
20 some odd years ago.
before then?
Yes, long before then.
Yeah, great distance, a great vast amount of time passed between his mother's death and his father's.
And she died suddenly. Rather than slowly.
You're fucking old.
I am, yes.
Yeah, Nesgrim's, you're
50.
50.
So fucking old.
Yeah, I'm a middle-aged man. Like,
He's not that old.
He is more green than he is old, though.
That's
That
true.
is true.
He's really fucking great.
But if he's old, then I'm.
It is impolite to talk about a lady's age.
I'm older than all of you. Believe it or not.
God damn it, you're green.
I do not think the payment was enough.
How do you
would
mean?
Say not.
Well, if they're a bit more eccentric, they may have wanted more.
Nesgrim,
Perhaps.
Yes.
did your father ever go out on expeditions by himself?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You were aware of his place at all times? He never left?
So I would tell you that because of how you and your father were
Yeah.
for where you lived in Ryak,
He was pretty
specifically
close.
your quarter, where you were, you spent almost your entire time with him.
Right.
But again, your father was quarantined for about 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And how far away from where he lived is the place that he was seeing his father in this vision?
The Ogre Pool is a forest that surrounds the city of Ryak, so literally it was in it.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So of the bodies that I have found out in the snow,
Uh-huh.
did any large number of them look, I guess judging by the bones or depending on the state of them being frozen, did they look like super violent deaths?
Some of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As though the people would have had, definitive physical injuries as designations of weaponry.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you that as well.
Yeah.
Some of them would have had, obvious markings of claws and bites and other things of that nature.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm referring specifically to like weaponry.
yeah, absolutely. You've
Okay.
seen ones that they have died because of weaponry.
Okay.
As to whether or not there are things out there in the woods or whether or not somebody simply
Sure.
had a fucking disagreement
Yeah,
out in the
yeah,
woods.
yeah,
Like, I
of
can't
course.
dictate
No,
that
yeah,
if it's
that's-
like, someone got stabbed.
No, yeah, I'm
You don't
just
know
trying
why.
to
No,
gauge that.
understood.
Is it possible that your father traded a great number of souls in exchange for yours? That might perhaps explain the giant wall of fucking faces that you saw, perhaps blocking you from passing beyond.
They were below me. The faces.
Yes, like a floor,
Yes.
so that way you wouldn't go further down.
Not further forward, further down.
Perhaps.
It's possible. That's a better explanation than the one Adrian gave me for sure. You didn't charge me for that information.
In your vision, he did say, in your stead, as if to suggest that someone was taking your place.
We shall answer eternal in his stead.
We.
Darling.
Seems
Correct. No, my love, our son shall not be thrall to the defiled. He is pure. We shall answer eternal in his stead.
Sounds like my parents offered themselves in place of me.
Wail no longer. This corrupted clay is faintly a prison.
Clay is a prison. I have plain. Okay, a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem as though my father probably offered himself or my mother in exchange for me.
Perhaps these are answers that Ethir can find if he is able to replicate the
We
visions.
can certainly try.
It may take a few tries before you're able to, but I'm willing to.
These are answers you want.
Yes.
DJ, for my curiosity, I believe you have told some people where you were born?
Mm-hmm.
Have you told everyone where you were born? I do not recall. But
Maybe.
this is something that, to me, for Nesgrim, for a thought.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'll say then, when I mentioned the Ogre Pole Woods, I would have also mentioned that I lived in Rayek, which is at the center, in the Bastard's Quarter.
Is that a word that any of us would recognize the meaning of?
Rayek in Elvish means exiled.
Of course.
Where were you born?
Oh, that Rarfley. Not.
Which means...
Not Elvish. Paul, as a student of the world, would know that Rarfley is an orc city in the southeast corner of the world, opposite where you grew up.
Was I born there?
Explains why you got weird looks when you mentioned it to somebody else.
Correct. That's why I'm bringing this back up for you.
Who did initially then?
Some random.
You brought it
fuckers
up
on
to
the
like a
street.
random fucking dude in the street, dude.
As long as it
That's-
wasn't
It wasn't-
purple robe dude.
No, it wasn't Arthur.
As long as it
No.
wasn't that guy.
No,
You
this
did
was
not-
two.
You
This
told
was
me, like,
back
during the
Episode
Esper.
1, when you were
Correct.
just like, "Hey guys, I'm an Osmar.
I'm born in
Born in
Rarfley.
Rarfley. What's up?"
Yeah.
I could see why that would give me a
Yeah.
few sideways looks.
Yeah.
We thought it was from the Asimar bit.
So born in not Elvish, raised in exiled.
Yes.
Got it.
Correct. And yeah, opposite side of the world. So, because again, Paul, you would know these locations. Rarfley is in the southeast corner of the world, and the Ogre Pool and the city of Rayek are in the northwest corner of the continent.
Yeah, so I would have mentioned that while talking about traveling through the Ogre
Correct.
Woods. Any thoughts on that?
You seem uncomfortable.
Got strong legs, huh?
I do.
A lot of traveling.
Yes, we traveled to Oshuamp. Yes.
Fuck.
What do you mean?
And you're an interesting character.
I've been told that. Yes, but what makes you say that?
Do you speak Elvish?
No.
Oh.
Yeah,
Maybe
he
does
doesn't
not
know.
Bad news.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
there
time for a
is.
bit of translating.
Perhaps.
Where you were born is
Rarfley. Yes.
is not Elvish.
Yeah, I don't know that
Okay.
word.
Oh, it's the song again.
Yeah,
That's what it
Fuck,
is.
every time.
That's what it
There.
means.
Rarfley?
And Rayek is
What does
exiled.
roughly mean?
Not Elvish.
You do not know what Rarfley means. Rarfley is
I thought you
not...
said it was not Elvish.
No, like it's
It's
not.
not
Elvish.
Elvish.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
I thought it meant. I thought it was Elvish for not Elvish. I thought you were joking.
No, it is a language
It's
that you
Orcish.
guys do
Oh,
not
God.
speak. Yes, it is
I thought you said-
Orcish because
Okay,
it's an orc
Orcish.
city.
Right.
So-
you would know that it was an orc city.
Yeah, I would
Correct.
know that was Orcish.
I would say that is not a good sign.
Yes.
I
Rarf.
have this fucking wailing.
Rayek, once again, was exiled, is what that meant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why would I have been exiled?
That is a good question.
Remember what kind of people you grew up with.
Your parents may have done something.
Possibly something fanatical.
Well, I grew up around tabaxi, turtles, and such. They all existed within Rayek, but
Did your parents kill them and eat them? Or something?
Grew up around what now?
not that I'm aware of.
Cats and turtles.
You grew up in a zoo.
Oh, no.
Let me out! Garbage zoo. You just go and there's
Cats and turtles. This is the weirdest fucking zoo ever. Yeah, you grew up around a lot of very peculiar and exotic races. And you were in the Bastards Quarter.
Yep.
That explains a lot about you, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, and while I was,
Did you talk to the zoo animals while you were there?
I did sometimes, yes.
You didn't feed them, though, yeah?
Should I not have?
You're not supposed to feed them.
While I was there as well, I was approached by the Monastery of Acceptance, and that's where I was entered into.
What the fuck is
What the
that?
fuck? You just
What?
said you're not the devout man.
I'm
What
not,
do you
no.
What do you mean?
I'm not devout.
I'm
not religious.
What is your
Yes, he's not devout, he's just devoted.
protection?
Those
of what?
two words with
Others.
the same root.
of those that I feel need protection.
Do I associate with this with any sort of
The Monastery of Acceptance?
and an oath?
I mean, you would know that oaths are held by, religiously typically associated individuals like knightly orders and
Okay,
things like
so I'm
that.
justified in my.
Correct. So again, I mean, despite the fact that like practice religion is not common, people, like I've said before, still adhere and worship nature itself. Like they worship this is very primitive style, more animism and spiritualism. So there are oaths of knightly orders that are devoted to ideals or philosophical ideologies. Okay. So like when he says devotion, like you mean protection, effectively. As for what you would know of the of acceptance, like the Monastery of Acceptance, you would be very vaguely familiar in that it is a specific grouping of servants who are in charge of keeping an eye on people like that. In this, they serve exclusively in the city of Ryak.
In the city of Ryak.
And that is their service.
It's just an ironic name.
Correct. Correct.
Now, Felix, you actually look similar to some of the people that I grew up with in Ryak.
Oh, you hear that? You're fucking weird. Fucking green man.
Hey, let's how about we peel off some of these clothes? What you got hiding under there? Weird tattoos? Fucking.
While not everyone
Skin? That isn't fucking
Keep going.
green.
Keep going.
Yeah, pulls up his sleeve.
Regular fucking skin. That's not fucking green.
I do it. 100%.
Oh, Earth, primarily.
Nice. Okay.
So since I've sufficiently been taunted, I'm gonna poke him.
I think.
Wait,
If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I was.
gotcha.
Yep.
So, Felix, where was it that you grew up?
I grew up in
Yep.
Yengema.
Yep.
Yengema.
Glad it happened. We're good.
What is Yengema?
Oh, just a Lawrence and I thing. That's great.
Oh, good.
Wonderful.
What's Yengema?
You've just been baiting it.
Fucking green. Are you okay?
Yes.
Have you been trying to get him to...
Yes. Apparently.
That's so good. Just being shady this whole time, just to freak out Felix.
It's very well done. I'm very happy. You guys are still standing here.
So what does your hometown, the name, mean?
I don't remember.
Which one?
Yengema.
Let me actually look.
Green fucking men.
Because
everyone
the,
I'll do it again.
the people
You got
that,
it.
Do I look
You got
phased?
No? Good. Maybe I'll roll.
the people the other races in Ryak, I was around others similar to you. However, they were not your color.
Hidden.
Hidden.
Yengema means hidden.
Lovely.
In what line?
They weren't my color?
No,
Nothing I know.
it's a common, yeah.
Oh.
What color were they?
Brown, similar to that. They were
I mean,
similar to the color of Earth, rather.
I mean, that seems
sounds
a
like
bit more
humans.
normal. Yeah, I think.
That does sound a little more normal.
I think
you
people
would
come in those
think-
colors too.
However, they were also stony.
That's a little different.
Kind of
Yep.
like how he's wet.
Yes.
So you have been
Gotcha.
around dirt and stone.
That was an
literally
association
your
that I am
entire
surprised
life
that you made.
Right.
Never mind.
Okay. So it's interesting that you were not brought up in Ryak as well.
Mm-hmm.
Were there others like
Stop
you where you're
smiling.
from?
As far as Nesgrim would think, yeah, that's
You
weird.
should have been brought up in Ryak as a
As an exile?
yeah.
Well, why?
Because you're fucking green.
You're fucking green.
Isn't it obvious?
I'm gonna shove you. Physically shove you.
Yeah.
Hey.
We'll cut it out.
What? What's the problem?
You.
I'm not the green one.
You're so pleased with yourself every time.
I roll.
Oh,
Oh, it's bad. It's 1.
1? Yep.
Yep.
Unfazed.
Yep.
Would I notice anything happening?
I mean, he doesn't have verbal, somatic, or material components. You would feel something like a shudder, like a psychological tremor, but you're okay.
Just like a baby going.
I mean, psychological tremor sounds a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
So why were you not brought up in Ryak?
I was raised in Yangema.
Are there others like you?
No.
You're the only green man you know? That's fucking weird.
Do you know why you're green? Interesting.
Do you know why you're wet?
Just wet.
I imagine from my time in Ryak, I wouldn't have found out how Genasi are
Nope.
created. Yeah,
No idea.
I would have just known
And
they
you
exist.
you did not see water ones.
Yeah, only Earth. Right. Right. You are very interesting.
I think he means green.
Don't look at me. Just don't look at me.
Into his head, I'm going to say, what's the problem?
What do you want? What do you want?
Nothing in particular.
You're annoying.
Nothing peculiar.
Nothing in particular.
Correct.
I think perhaps it's time that we go back to Luna's.
Yeah, that was. I know. That's why I stopped.
Is everything okay?
Totally fine.
Okay. If there's nothing else, perhaps we should.
Yalumlo.
Yes.
Would you like to
Okay.
talk about what you saw?
I think perhaps I can speak of that with Ethir when
Okay.
we are back from Luna's.
Sure.
All right. And tomorrow we will try again with your vision and see if I am able to complete that and perhaps get something different or the same horrifying vision that you have already seen, in which case I will reassure you of that horror.
I am nervously looking forward to it.
Perhaps you can look into my vision as well.
Of course. Would be happy to help.
Okay, let's head back to Luna's then, I suppose.
I do wonder if Adrian saw something different and chose not to tell you, and perhaps the circle altered what you saw. I do not use a circle, so perhaps
You will need a circle?
or
Maybe part
perhaps
of
the circle is what allows you to see as well.
as well. Yes, that
As that
includes
is
me.
not the case with mine when I...
Well, we can
To
try
be fair,
one,
all of yours have been dead.
It is
and we can
also
try
true.
with a circle and without a circle. and
Don,
see
I
if
will
there's-
remind you that one of the things that Adrian specifically said to you is, lest we wander into one another's.
Right. I'm gonna exit the tent.
Okay?
I would also like to exit
Yep.
the tent. I want to whistle for my owl.
Okay.
again.
You whistle. Roll a d20.
Just a flat D20. 12.
12. So you step outside. As I've said before, for the weather, it's kind of clear. As you whistle, after a moment or so goes by, you see in the distance, coming from the area that looks like would be on the eastern wall of Slums West, towards the center of the city, your owl flying towards you. And as your owl begins to swoop down in your direction, you can see that there is something in its beak.
Smooches.
Is it like a mouse?
Roll for perception.
$24.
24. So you see, as your owl approaches you, now you have a stark white snowy owl, correct?
Yeah.
As your owl begins to loom and swoop down towards you, you can see that extending out from the sides of its beak is a large rat that looks as though it has been bent inwards from its bite. And you can see the claws of your owl have turned black. And we will conclude there.
As soon as you asked for the owl, I knew he was going to do it to you. I knew it. I knew that's where we were ending with that.
First fish, now this.
I'm just bad with pets.
Yeah, honestly. Oh, Lord. Well, chat, thank you guys very much for watching tonight. That was an episode for sure.
Lots of
lot
up
of
and
stuff.
down.
Lot of stuff.
Lots of back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of running.
Lot. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you're new here, make sure you follow us. You can find us again. We stream D&D 3 to 4 times a week, depending on the week. If you type !schedule, that'll take you to our calendar of events, so you can see when we're live and what we're doing. You can also go to our website, NotGreatRPG.com, to catch up on past episodes. We've got text recaps, we've got YouTube videos, we've got podcasts. We make it very easy for you to find out all of the fun things about us and catch up on other content that we make, so that way you can watch us live and have a good time. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Princes of the Apocalypse.
It's going to be exciting.
As we hopefully get the fuck out of that cave. But yeah, thank you very much, friends. Have a good night.
Bye, friends.
Night.
Bye.
Goodbye.